Today we're going to be learning about the transfer of temperature between high temp and low temp. So to start this off, this will represent high temperature since it's red. This will represent low temperature since it's yellow. So say that we have two objects and one is hot and one is cold. Anytime that those two objects come into contact, they will want to come to an equilibrium temperature. And that transfer of heat is called conduction. So let's say that we have a piece of steel and a piece of wood. So when they're in an environment, they will become the same temperature. And heat will always transfer from high to low. So the heat will always go from the place of higher heat to the place of lower heat. So when we're, that's how that works. So it doesn't depend on the material, it depends on the environment as to whether or not they will change temperatures. So let's say that you had something that was an object going into an environment. So two different objects, but not quite the same style. So this is a bowl of soup. We can tell because it says it right here. And let's say that it is 212 degrees. And then we have a metal spoon. We put the metal spoon into the soup. What will happen to the spoon? It'll get hot. Well, the spoon just came out of the drawer, so it was at room temperature. So then we put it in the soup, and it will heat up, right? Yeah. So what if we didn't use metal? What if we wanted to use a spoon that wouldn't heat up? What material would we use, do you think? Well, you wouldn't change the temperature, you'd change the material. So is there a material that wouldn't heat up if we put it into, that wouldn't heat up our hand?
Plastic?
Yeah, maybe plastic. What's another material maybe? Wood? Yeah. So when we're talking about heat transfer, there's two different types of materials that transfer and don't transfer heat. So the type that do transfer heat are conductors. So metal would be an example of a conductor. So metal is able to release electrons and allow that heat to transfer to another object, so it can transfer to my hand. But wood is an example of an insulator. So insulators don't allow heat to transfer. So if I was to put a wooden spoon in this soup and touch it, it wouldn't burn my hand. So we each have a piece of paper in front of us, a little index card. Let's set it up like this to make a list of conductors and insulators in our common daily life. So what are some examples of conductors that we've already talked about? Mm-hmm. What are some other conductors? What if we touch? What if we talk about electricity? What if we were to touch a wire? Are we conductors? Yeah, yeah. So you can put humans in it. And some other conductors that we can think that come to mind are aluminum. So like aluminum foil would be a conductor. Or silver. Water is also a conductor. Okay, so let's switch to insulators. What did we say what's the definition of an insulator? Doesn't conduct heat. Yeah. So what's an example that we've already talked about? Wood and plastic. Can you think of any others? Rubber. Another conductor could be wool, or insulator, sorry. Insulator could be wool. So if you were trying to keep something the same temperature, say that you were trying to keep a crock pot hot, then you would wrap it in an insulator, right? Because it doesn't conduct that heat out of the object. If you were trying to transfer heat, then you would use a conductor. Yeah. So to test some of the things that we've talked about, we have a short quiz. So if you want to take one and pass it down. When you've completed the quiz, please bring it up to the front of the table.